Hi students, once again I am meeting you to discuss something about other disorders or the microbiological aspects related to the viral diseases, because we already discussed about the bacterial diseases in the last class. Now we know that viruses are non-living structures. So if you just study the viruses, they are the smallest intracellular and obligate parasite. Smallest intracellular obligate parasites. This is the simplest definition for what we call the viruses. Obligate parasites, the meaning for that one, they're permanent parasites, they can multiply only within the living cells. Outside the living cells, they lost the characteristics of the living structure. Now inside the living cells, they are multiplying and also force the host cells to create new viruses, the lodging place. You know the host cells are the lodging places for the multiplication of viruses. Once the viruses multiply within a particular cell, they break out that cell and then invade other cells and causing disease in the human body. That's the nature of what we call the viruses. Smallest intracellular permanent parasites. Without a host, they cannot live. Without a host, they cannot multiply, because they are not having proper metabolic structures, proper metabolism to synthesize anything. They are dependent on the host cell only. Hence they are called intracellular obligate parasites. Now we have a number of viral diseases. One of the most common viral diseases everyone just meet in their lifetime, that is nothing but the common cold. The common cold is one of the most common viral diseases caused by a virus, rhinovirus. The name of the virus, rhinovirus. We'll discuss later. Rhinovirus. So common cold is one of the most common viral diseases. Now before studying the different types of viral diseases, we have to discuss about the types of viral diseases. Now based on the symptoms produced in the body organs, in different body organs, they are producing the symptoms. There are 4 types of viral diseases. They may be affecting the respiratory organs, or they may be affecting the skin, or they may be affecting what is called the visceral organs and the blood, or they may be just affecting the nervous system. So accordingly, the nature of the organs in which they are surviving and causing disease, there are 4 types. Number 1, pneumotrophic. The pneumotrophic viruses affect the respiratory system. That is the nature of the pneumotrophic viruses. For example, the influenza virus, the common cold virus, even the measles virus also affect the respiratory system. So, pneumotrophic viruses normally affect the respiratory system. We have a number of viral diseases, the flu, what is called simply influenza, or we have common cold, or the measles, all normally just affect the respiratory system. Now the next one, dermatopig. Dermis means skin. Those viral diseases affect the skin. Say an example of chickenpox, measles. They cause rashes on the surface of the body or blisters on the surface of the body, affecting mainly the skin, and that is called what is known as dermatopig viral disease. And that one affects mainly the skin. The skin is a major organ that is being affected. Visceral atrophy. These viruses affect the visceral organs. For example, blood or other visceral organs. So, for example, the dengue fever, the yellow fever, they cause damage to the various organs concerned, and that is about what's called visceral atrophy. Now, in the case of dermatopig, and these viruses not only affect the skin but also the tissues present below the skin. That is called subcutaneous tissue. So viruses that affect the skin and subcutaneous tissues are coming into the category dermatopig viruses or viral diseases. Now neurotropic viruses, neurotropic viral diseases. Now these viruses affect mainly the nervous system. Say an example of there is a brain and spinal cord. You have for example polio, we have rabies. These are the different diseases which affect mainly the nervous system, both the brain and spinal cord. The polio virus affects the spinal cord. You know that one, that is called neurotropic. So either the brain or spinal cord being affected in the case of neurotropic, what is called viruses or viral diseases. So we have 4 different types of viral diseases. Pneumotropic, affecting the respiratory system. Dermotropic, affecting the skin and then subcutaneous tissues. Viscerotropic, blood and visceral organs, for example, dengue fever. Also what we call yellow fever. The dengue fever, yellow fever, they all affect mainly what we have, that is the visceral organs. Then lastly the neurotropic, for example the polio virus, that one mainly affects. And also the rabies. All these viruses affect the nervous system, the brain and spinal cord. Particularly the polio virus affects the spinal cord and the rabies virus affects the brain. So that's about the major classification of the viruses. Now next we have to go for the different types of viral diseases, the causative agent, the symptoms, the site of infection, the mode of transmission, etc. one by one. Hi students, now let us discuss some of the viral diseases related to human beings. One of the most common viral disease, that is common cold. So it is caused by a virus, what is called rhinovirus. Rhinovirus. And normally this is an RNA virus. See, the inflammation of the mucous membrane of the nose is called rhinitis. What is rhinitis? Inflammation of the mucous membrane of the nose is called rhinitis. Air running nose, nasal discharge, we have just also congestion of the nasal passage. All these things related to rhinitis, even also watering from the eyes, inflammation of the mucous membrane of the nose. So that's why here the virus is called rhinovirus, the one responsible for causing common cold. The site of infection, you know, all related to the respiratory passage. That is what we call the nasal mucous membrane and also the respiratory passage, but not the lungs. The common cold affects only the respiratory passage. The mode of transmission, almost all the respiratory disorders are transmitted mainly through droplet infection. Mainly through droplet infection. Now what are the symptoms? You have just actually noticed this one because you had this experience in your life. That is what is called the nasal congestion, nasal discharge. We have headache also sometimes. In extreme conditions we have also fever. Nasal congestion, nasal discharge, headache, and also that is what we call fever in some cases. So that is called the common cold. The measles. The measles are actually caused by, you see that one, that is paramyxovirus. Paramyxovirus, the measles virus, a virus that belongs to paramyxovirus group, that is what is called rubeola virus. Rubeola virus. And before that, just before telling that one what we have the nature of the causative agent, we have 2 types of measles. One, the country measles, the normal measles available, country measles. Another one, German measles. Country measles, another one, German measles. The country measles is otherwise called rubeola. Rubeola. Now the German measles otherwise called rubella. So 2 types of measles, the country measles called rubeola and the German measles called rubella. Now the country measles are caused by the causative agent, rubeola virus, and likewise the German measles, they are caused by the virus, rubella virus. And both the viruses are RNA viruses, belong to one group of viruses called paramyxovirus group. Paramyxovirus group. So these are all examples for paramyxovirus group. So measles, country measles, German measles, rubella, rubella, paramyxovirus group. Both are RNA viruses. Now, the site of infection, you know that one, the nasal passage as well as the skin. Nasal passage as well as the skin. The mode of transmission, again the droplet infection. They also enter into what we have the body through the nasal openings or through the conjunctiva of the eye. Okay, that's about the mode of transmission. What are the symptoms? Now the site of infection I mentioned already, the skin and the respiratory passage. We have here also running nose. Then we have fever, sore throat, headache, along with rashes on the surface of the body. Rashes on the surface of the skin. That's a main symptom, development of rashes. There is a much difference between rubella and rubella. In rubella, the rashes are smaller in size. In rubella, the rashes are larger in size. That's about what we have the measles, country measles, German measles, rubella, rubella, this paramyxovirus group. Now vaccine is available. The name of the vaccine used for this one is MMR vaccine. So MMR vaccine is available for this one. So the first M stands for measles. Measles. This stands for what is called the mumps. The next, this is what we are going to talk about. This R stands for what is called rubella, the German measles. So this is the vaccine for 3 different types of diseases. M for measles, M for mumps, and R for rubella, the German measles. That's about the vaccine available for measles. Now let's go for the mumps. Now it is another viral disease. The virus belongs to the same paramyxovirus group. The name of the virus is called paramyxovirus parotitis. The name of the virus is called paramyxovirus parotitis. I'm writing here. Parotitis. This is the name of the virus which normally affects the parotid gland, one of the salivary glands of what is called the buccal cavity. We have 3 pairs of glands: parotid, sublingual, submaxillary. So the parotid gland is the largest gland which is being affected by what is called the mumps virus, what is called paramyxovirus parotitis. So we have the measles, the mumps viruses, they belong to paramyxovirus group. Now, which is a site of infection? The site of infection is mainly the salivary glands in the case of, for example, the mumps. So it causes the inflammation of the parotid gland, so that we have the swelling of the cheek regions. That is the main external visible symptom. The mode of transmission here also because of droplet infection through the nasal passage. So the enlargement of the salivary glands is the main symptom of this mumps disease. I mentioned already vaccine is available, MMR vaccine. So measles, now the mumps, so over also rubella. So MMR vaccine is for rubella, rubella and mumps. Now the next one, viral hepatitis. So common cold, measles, the mumps and viral hepatitis, all are RNA viruses. All are RNA viruses. Now the viral hepatitis, the word referring to the inflammation of the liver. So it is caused by different types of what is called viruses. We have different types of hepatitis. So one virus, what is called hepatitis B virus, it is dangerous. Hepatitis B virus. Hepatitis B virus. We have hepatitis A virus, non-hepatitis A virus, non-hepatitis B virus, delta virus, like that. But the most important one causing damage to the body is hepatitis B virus. It is an enveloped virus. Now, this is a causative agent, hepatitis B virus. It is also an RNA virus. The site of infection is liver. The site of infection is liver. That's why the name is given hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. What is the mode of transmission? So we have different types of hepatitis viruses, but the hepatitis B virus is transmitted through parenteral route. Parenteral route. Parenteral route. So is normally different in different case of viruses. It may be through fecal oral route, that is through contaminated food and water through the mouth, or it may be through using that one droplet infection through the respiratory passage. Now the next one, parenteral route. The word refers to transmission of pathogenic forms through what is called blood transfusion. That is what is called the blood transplantation. So parenteral route means the transmission of the pathogenic forms through the body organs, through the blood transfusion, or through what is called the sexually transmission. That means through the vaginal fluid, or through what is called actually the urinary fluids, etc. So that is called parenteral route, transmission through body organs or blood transfusion. That is a mode of transmission. As it is related to the inflammation of the liver, all related to the liver damage, jaundice, nausea, loss of appetite. So you have loss of appetite also here, vomiting sense. So liver damage, jaundice, nausea, loss of appetite. We have also the release of the pigments into the bloodstream, leading to what is called the jaundice, what I mentioned. All related to only the liver only. The main symptom is in that one, that is a jaundice, damage to the liver. Others are related to, for example, because of the breakdown of the various bile pigments, we have yellow coloration of the eyes, yellow coloration of the skin. So we have yellow coloration of eyes also, another symptom related to viral hepatitis, because hepatitis is caused by different sources. Here we are talking about hepatitis caused by virus, hence called viral hepatitis. The pox viruses are normally DNA viruses. All pox viruses are DNA viruses. They are actually brick-shaped viruses. Now, one such pox disease, chickenpox. Now, it is caused by a virus, what is called varicella zoster. Caused by varicella zoster. I mentioned we have different types of pox viruses. The cowpox virus is called vaccinia virus. The smallpox virus is called variola virus. The chickenpox virus is called varicella virus. So we have different groups of viruses. You see that one I mentioned about the smallpox. The smallpox has been completely eradicated. No smallpox at present. Since 1975. There was no representative of what is called smallpox, completely eradicated. We have either there is also the chickenpox or herpes simplex, etc. Only now present. Now the chickenpox is caused by varicella zoster. The site of infection, either you have what is called the skin, or we have the nervous system, etc. Now the mode of transmission, as in the case of others, it is also transmitted through droplet infection. What are the symptoms? We have mild fever, as in the case of measles, mild fever. Then we have rashes on the surface of the skin. In some cases, it's being increased in size. It is being increased in size, and that is called blisters. So in measles, we cannot have blisters, only rashes. But in the case of chickenpox, we have either rashes. In extreme conditions, it passes through different stages that result in the formation of blisters. That's about the chickenpox. Now, we have smallpox. I want to tell you something about that one, though it is not given here. I mentioned already smallpox has been eradicated. No prevalence of smallpox since 1975. Now we have the vaccine available for smallpox. Now the smallpox vaccine was generated by Edward Jenner in 1798. Now it contains what is called vaccinia virus. That is what is called the cowpox virus has been modified and prepared into vaccine. So the smallpox vaccine contains the cowpox virus, namely vaccinia virus. The vacca, the word in Latin refers to cowpox. Hence the name vaccine is given. The word vaccine is derived from vacca. In Latin it refers to what we have, cowpox. That's about in relation to the chickenpox. We have to remember the cowpox also, the smallpox also, chickenpox also. Now the poliomyelitis. Now it is caused by, you know that one, just a polio virus. Okay, poliomyelitis is caused by a poliovirus. Again, it is an RNA virus. Now, the site of infection, that is intestine, also the brain and spinal cord. The three parts affected in the case of this one, brain, then we have that is spinal cord, and also we have intestine. Because it enters in the body only through fecal oral route or through what is called the respiratory system, but mainly it enters the body through fecal oral route. That means through contaminated food and water, the virus enters the body. It affects mostly children rather than, you see that one, the adults. So the mode of transmission through fecal oral route or through we have also some respiratory passage. Then, what are the symptoms? We have the polio affects mainly the brain and spinal cord. That too in the brain it affects the medulla oblongata, the center for respiratory, just actually mechanism. So the center for respiration is located in medulla oblongata. The virus affects the medulla oblongata. So there is a respiratory defect. So a respiratory defect is one of the symptoms. Another symptom I mentioned already, it affects the spinal cord. That is the controlling center for voluntary muscles. So we have the stiffness of the voluntary muscles, or what we have the weakness of the voluntary muscles, and finally paralysis. Finally, the paralysis of voluntary muscles. So we have stiffness, weakness, and paralysis of muscles, along with respiratory damage, are the main symptoms of poliomyelitis. So this one affects the medulla oblongata, the respiratory center, as well as the spinal cord, the one which controls the muscular activities. Now we have vaccine is available for poliomyelitis. There are two vaccines, very often you have here about this one. Booster dose will be given to the newborn and also at now every now and then. We have two types of vaccine. One is called Sabin vaccine. This is vaccine. Another one is called as a Salk vaccine. So this is what's called oral polio vaccine. This is called inactivated polio vaccine. Here what I think so oral drops for polio. Now and then it is being given to the newborn or just the growing children at regular intervals as booster doses. So Sabin vaccine, this is oral polio vaccine. Then Salk vaccine, inactivated polio vaccine. These are the vaccines available to control poliomyelitis in the case of children. Now the next one, dengue fever. So poliomyelitis virus is also RNA virus, except in the chickenpox here, the smallpox. All others are RNA viruses. Now let's pass on to the next one regarding dengue fever. As it causes pain in the bones, it's very often called break bone fever. So this is called break bone fever. So now the dengue fever is otherwise called break bone fever. The name of the virus, what we call the dengue virus, or actually called as a flavivirus. Flavivirus. So now we call as VN, V, just 1 to 4. This is the name of the virus forms, the strain, dengue 1 to 4 strain, and normally coming under the group flavivirus, it's called break bone fever because one of the symptoms related to. Now, the mode of transmission. So what is the site of infection? Mainly it is that one, just we have the muscles, also the bones, even the nervous system also. Now the dengue fever, normally it causes fever. So severe illness and then sudden onset of flu-like fever. Sudden onset of flu-like fever. And also painful headache. And also we have pain in the joints, pain in the muscles. So that's why it's called as dengue fever. It often causes very strong, that is what's called a vigorous pain in the joints, hence called break bone fever. So that's about the symptoms. So flavivirus, dengue 1 to 4, mode of transmission. You see that one. The mode of transmission for dengue fever, yellow fever and chikungunya common. Dengue fever, yellow fever and chikungunya common. It is being transmitted by a vector. The name of the vector is called Aedes aegyptiae mosquito. This is the name of the vector. This is normally called as tiger mosquito. This is normally called as tiger mosquito. This is a common vector for dengue fever, chikungunya, and also yellow fever, all being transmitted mainly through this tiger mosquito, what is called Aedes aegypti. So it is a vector-borne disease. Dengue fever, chikungunya, yellow fever are all vector-borne disease because they are being transmitted through a vector, insect vector, a tiger mosquito called Aedes aegypti. That's about the dengue fever. Now let's pass on to the next one, chikungunya. The next viral disease, chikungunya. So there is a common that is character for dengue fever, chikungunya and yellow fever. All these are being transmitted by a common vector, namely the tiger mosquito, what I mentioned, Aedes aegypti. Now, the dengue fever mainly affects the skin and blood. There is a site of infection. Whereas the chikungunya, once it enters the blood, it reaches what we call the nervous system, causing damage to the nervous system. That is a site of infection for chikungunya, nervous system, and for the dengue fever, the skin and blood. Now, the chikungunya is caused by alpha virus, otherwise called as a Dover virus, and it is being transmitted, you know, that from the vector Aedes aegypti. The symptoms are we have fever, then we have headache, and also pain in the joints, as well as some in the muscles and swelling in the joints. Pain in the joints, swelling in the joints, somehow we have fever also, somehow headache, but main symptoms are pain in the joints and swelling in the joints. Now what are the other viruses? And what are the other viral diseases? I mentioned already the yellow fever. Transmitting agent, I mentioned about what we call the same agent, that is for chikungunya, Aedes aegypti mosquito, otherwise called the tiger mosquito. So it is caused by arbovirus. Okay, that's about the yellow fever. Then another one, what we have, herpes simplex viral disease. Herpes simplex viral disease. There are two types of viruses: herpes oral virus, herpes genital virus. The herpes oral virus causes you have some sort of actually that is rashes and then blisters all around the mouth, the neck region and chest region. That is about what is called the herpes oral virus, producing there is patches of blisters around the mouth. And another one, herpes genital virus. It is a one which causes damage to the genital organs, external genital organs, that transmits the disease from one person to another. Hence it is coming under a sexually transmitted disease. So it transmits what is called actually the disease from one individual to another, from male to female or female to male. That's why it's called herpes genital virus. I mentioned about already the smallpox. Then the last one here, rabies. So the rabies is called like a virus, normally called as a nickname, by nickname street virus. Street virus. Belonging to the family Rhabdoviridae. It belongs to the family Rhabdoviridae. That is the rabies virus. And that one rhabdovirus, that is one causes the rabies. Now you know that one here the affected person is fear of water. Hence rabies is also called hydrophobia. Another name for rabies, hydrophobia, because the infected person is actually fear of water, disliking water, because stiffness of the neck region, the chest region, spasm of the muscles, even also we have just a dropping of fluid from the mouth. These are all the symptoms. We have vaccines available for rabies. The rabies vaccine was actually invented by Louis Pasteur. So the vaccine for rabies was first invented by Louis Pasteur. He only prepared the vaccine for rabies or against rabies. So that's about some of the diseases, other diseases other than the book. And two more viral diseases given in the book in a nutshell. I want to discuss within 1 or 2 minutes. Now we have a few words about Nipah virus. So it causes, you see that one, a zoonotic disease. What is zoonosis? Any disease that is transmitted from animals to man is called what is known as a zoonotic disease or a zoonose. For example, rabies transmitted from dog to man. Even also we have just rat flea, the one which transmits the disease, the plague. You see that one. That is also another example for zoonotic disease. Any disease from animals to man. Now, it is being transmitted by the fruit-eating bat and also somehow by the pig, mainly by the fruit-eating bat. When the bat, you see that one, ate the fruit and left just the fruit. Why the person is eating that fruit already just tasted by what is called the bat, and that one transmits the disease. So mainly from the bat to man, or from the pig to man, or somehow also it is being transmitted through food. Another mode of transmission, that is only mainly through the fruits I mentioned already. Now, it causes a number of symptoms without any symptoms. It causes a number of symptoms, illness without any symptoms. That's called asymptomatic infection. And also it affects the respiratory system, causes respiratory failure, and also it causes a brain fever, what is called encephalitis. So the Nipah viral disease is mainly transmitted through the fruit-eating bat. So from fruit to bat, so actually we can say like that only, from bat to man or from pig to man. So like that we have about what is called the Nipah virus. So one more virus I want to talk about, what is called swine flu virus. Bovine insulin. Insulin extracted from the cattle. Bovine, the word referring to sheep. Swine, the word referring to the pig. So it is being transmitted from pig. Hence the name is given swine flu. Okay. Now it was first recognized during 1999 pandemic. But now also it is circulating as seasonal virus. Now it is caused by a flu virus. The name of the flu virus H1N1 virus. So we can write this way also, or H1N1 virus. So this is H1N1. Now what are the symptoms? All related to the respiratory passage. Chills, sore throat, cough, the weakness of the body, then body aches. And what are the people who are affected? Children, elderly people, and also we have the pregnant, just women. These people are affected. So children, elderly people, and then pregnant women are mostly affected. So with this I concluded just what we have the viral diseases. We have to pass on to the next one, the protozoan diseases in the next class. Thank you.